Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Dave coming to you from the fire pit of Southern Maryland. As you can see, we've got a special guest today at the fire pit. This is Ranger. This is my boy's dog, Ranger. He's 4, almost turning 5. And he loves chasing sticks. He's pretty good at it too. So you'll see him from time to time throughout the video. Anyway, it's about 4 o'clock. Tuesday afternoon. It is New Year's Eve. It's 55 degrees out here. We got cloudy sky, but it's pretty dang warm out here. Each day, yesterday was our warmest day at like 65, and each day gets a little cooler now till we get kind of into a deep freeze next week. Anyway, it's really nice out right now. All right, put it here. Give me a stick. Good boy. Give me a stick. Let go. Leave it. No, let go. All right, here we go. You ready? Bring it here. Come on. Anyway, I got Ranger out here because the young ones play better when he's not trying to interfere. He kind of acts like a traffic cop or a fun cop. He doesn't like a lot of fun in the yard. So if the puppies, so if Sasha and Finn start playing, he kind of gets involved and shoves them around a little bit. So it's better to have him out here. Plus, there's no chance he's going to run off on me. And that way the kids can play out in the yard and have fun, and he can be out here having fun. He's an only dog in Denver, so he's better off when we do things with him on his own. So let's talk for a minute about what we're smoking tonight. Tonight we're doing the Oliva Series V Milanio. This is one of my favorite. This is definitely in my top 10. This is in that Tupperware. I have a Tupperware for each of my top 10 and 4 honorable mentions. So there's 14 Tupperwares in the paddock. It's so different than how I do it in Wyoming, but I use the Tupperware system here. And this is it, the Oliva Series V Melania. It's one of my favorites. And we got a flat cut like I pretty much do all mine. So we're a pretty boring people here at the house. New Year's Eve is really not a time for us to go out. So we'll be here. There'll be 8 of us here tonight. Amarillo makes a nice dinner. Each of my kids invited 2 or 3 friends over. My 3 kids will be here. We'll have a nice bottle of champagne to bring in the new year. But that's really about it. I'll be out here for a while, then I'll have a nice dinner. Then we'll drink some champagne. I might see midnight. My days of going out for New Year's Eve are long behind me. We used to do that when Amber and I were younger, pre-kids, I mean, 25 years ago. We would go do these kind of all-inclusive nights. We'd go, a bunch of us would get together as couples and go to a nice hotel that had a really nice New Year's Eve bash going on. And you'd have a really nice dinner, and then the New Year's Eve party and the dance, and then you'd spend the night at the hotel and breakfast the next morning and then drive home. So it's been a while since I've done the go to somebody's house for a party and try to drive home after the party. It seems stupid in today's world. One is, well, I've had a few drinks, so driving home with a few drinks in you is not smart. And then the cops are just out in force. And then I think after midnight, something like 50 to 75% of the drivers are going to be under the influence. So it just seems like a good night to not be anywhere other than in our home. It's kind of funny. We used to stay up till 1 or 2 in the morning, and now it's funny. At 60, if I see 2 or 3 in the morning, it's because I got up early. Or now in the last 2 years of my life, if I see 1, 2, 3 in the morning, it's because I'm doing a 24 or 30-hour drive to get to Wyoming or get to Maryland. It's kind of funny. The days of partying till the middle of the night just are gone. And good riddance. I don't really miss it at all. Let's take a minute and talk about the cigar, the Oliva Serie V Milano. This thing is a wonderful stick. It's I like the length of it. It's essentially a Churchill length. Um, it's a medium body. It's a medium smoke, medium taste. It's straight down. It's not bold. It's not mild. I wouldn't even give it medium minus or medium plus. I think it's straight down the middle. If you're doing a 0 to 10 or a 1 to 10 rating, I'd give it a 5 for flavor, a 5 for strength. It's just straight down the middle. That's why it's one of my top 10s. And these things are rock solid consistent. I don't care how long you've had them. If you bought it today or you bought it 2 years ago, to me they taste the same. They're very, very consistent. And it's really a fairly budget friendly stick. It's not one of those crazy ones like my Cohiba Blacks or that crazy crap I have in Wyoming. So it's a good obviously it's a perfect day to talk about the year in review. And so for me, I'm not talking about what I think you should do. For me, it's always been a priority of mine to not live the same year over and over again. I want to have 10 years of experience, not 10 years repeated of the same year. And I think sometimes, especially at my age, you can get into the pattern where you kind of live the same year over and over and over again. And that's how 5, 8, 10 years can by in the blink of an eye. We're not doing anything new. We're not doing anything challenging. So I'm going to talk to you about my 2024 a little bit. Now, I've brought you through pretty much the entire year on videos, but there's so many people who are fairly new to the channel. I just want to do a quick review of my year. So Ranger informs me we were playing an amateur game. He wanted to upgrade to a more professional stick, so we've done that. That'll make him happier. Here it comes. Come here, buddy. Come here. Show the folks your stick. Oh, it's a good stick, man. Drop it. All right, here we go. It's good YouTube content, right? Throw your dog a stick. So my year 2024 started with my January trip to Wyoming. You know, the main purpose of the January trip is to get Ranger back to my son Sean in Denver, which is the exact same purpose that I'm going to be doing in 2.5 weeks. I leave 2 weeks from Friday. But it'd be literally the exact same trip last year or this year, January. So I drove Ranger to Denver, dropped him off, spent a day with Sean. That was a 2-day trip because we used to stop in St. Louis on the way. So a day to St. Louis, a day to Denver, a day in Denver, and then a day to Wyoming. 3 days to get to Wyoming. I was there 2 or 3 days in our main hand, our senior hand on our horse farm turned in his resignation. And my wife panicked. So after 5 whole days, on the 5th day in Wyoming, I drove 3 days back. Not an auspicious start to the year. So I drove 3 days out and 3 days back for 5 days in Wyoming. That was my winter trip last year. And for those of you who've been around, you know I like to do 6 or 8 weeks on both sides of the trip. A 2,000-mile drive is worth it when you have 6 or 8 weeks. It is not worth it when you spend basically 4 days. But I figured if I drove home, we'd get the situation handled. And if I didn't drive home, it would fester into a real nightmare. So Anyway, so my main hand was Raul. He tendered his resignation. He needed to go home. He missed his kids. So he'd been with us almost 6 years. Tried to talk to him. I said, I think it's a mistake. Nothing's changed in Mexico to the good. All the reasons you moved here are still the same. I'd gotten him his green card. So I was a little offended because that was 30 grand. But he quit and went home. Well, it turns out our assistant hand, Jonathan, stepped up and is doing an even better job than Raul and the guy we brought in. So Jonathan replaced Raul, and we hired a new guy to replace Jonathan, and it was a gift from God. The pair we have working the farm now, we have 3 employees at the farm, and it's working better today than ever. So an inauspicious start to the year, but it ended really well. And as I sit here with you tonight, it's still truly a gift from God. So another good thing about 2024 was the creation of the paddock as you see it today. That whole product, so what we call the paddock, was simply a car garage, a car barn, a car warehouse until November last year. I mean, literally 12, 13 months ago. And when I got back from my fall trip last year in November, I decided to create, I'd sold enough cars, I had enough room, I wanted to create a man cave inside the paddock. And what you see me broadcast from now, what an idiot. We see me make my videos, didn't exist 12 months ago. And all the orders for all the basic parts, the carpet, the work tables, the second set of screens, the docking station, everything was done this year. And so if you followed my videos this year, you've seen the evolution of the paddock from simply a car garage to what we have today. All those bookshelves, the flags, the work tables, the weight set. Truly amazing. That really all occurred in this calendar year of 2024. So another great thing was for this year, my daughter Lauren, she's now a senior. In fact, when she goes back to school in a week, she'll be in her last semester, her 8th semester of 8. She'll be a second semester senior. But spring break this year, she was finishing up her junior year, and she actually got herself a real job, not an internship, a real job with Hasbro, doing she did all the digital commercials for their new figures. And so they would ship her, and they wanted her to work remote. So she ended up coming home for the summer with this full-time job, and they would ship her the new figures, and then she would do their 30-second commercials for them and send them back. That chick worked her ass off, but it was so cool to watch my daughter want to come home for her summer after her junior year and work full-time from the house for Hasbro, and she made real money. It was just really cool to see my daughter do that. So in about that same time, that springtime this year, God gave me Sasha. For those of you who are fairly new to the channel, you see Sasha every day. Sasha didn't come to me, until May. She was essentially born March 1st. We don't actually know her actual date, but she was abandoned on our property. And I kind of took it as, we love rangers so much that God gave me a ranger just in girl form. And so she was about 7 weeks old when she came to me. So we figure her birthday, with all the vet work, they kind of estimate her birthday is March 1st. And so she came to me April 1st, kind of the third week of April. And I've kept her, and she is part of the family now. You see it every day, almost every video I put. Sasha's part of it, and when we leave here in a couple weeks, Sasha and Ranger will be in the truck with me, and I'll drop Ranger off at Sean's house, and then Sasha and I will become a couple again. It'll be just her and I, no other dogs, no other people, for the entire trip out in Wyoming. So we'll be back to just her and I for like 6 or 8 weeks. But that occurred this year. She did not exist, at this time on New Year's Eve last year. And as we moved into the late summer, if you were with me at channel back then, who could forget the wildfire and how close it got to my house? 100,000 acres, got within 10 miles. The local fire department and the U.S. Forest Service Fire Department came to my home and told me I had to clear a 50-foot buffer. And I had to do it on my own. 60-year-old man at 8,000 feet cleared 43 70-foot trees, basically. 25 days on the saw and a bunch more days cleaning the piles up, but we got it done. But I got it done here. You guys saw it pretty much every day. I was joking about it. I was the tree cutting channel. But the fire department could not be happier with what I did. I think I'm number one on their save list from now on. And it felt good to get it done. Now I've got some cleanup work I got to do, which will be part of the conversation for 2025. But talk about thinking you're going to the helm to do one major project and have it completely diverted to another project. But you guys lived through it with me, and I appreciate that. And we were ready if the fire came to us. All right, we kept those sprinklers running 24 hours a day. We had the whole property turned into a bog. The fire department was ready to defend. We cleared the 50-foot defense buffer. We were ready for that thing. And then the snows came. You guys, as we got into late fall, that beautiful fall, all those creekside videos we did together, those crazy cigar videos we did together. And then the snows came and put the fire out. And we could breathe easy. And you guys were there for every step of that. And another journey that we went on together in 2024 was that giant humidor in Wyoming. That crazy furniture-sized, taller than me, double-sided humidor that we filled up, right? We put more and more into it. I felt like every week I was putting more into it. And you guys kind of rode that with me. You've seen some of the crazy, rare, unbelievably expensive shit that Dave has got for me, and that we've put inside that humidor. And that was all this year. That humidor got placed this year. I bought it last year. It took like 3 or 4 months to show up. Got delivered. I had to have it placed. It got placed this year. How crazy is that? And we filled it up this year. So it took pretty much the entire year to do it, but you came along with me for that ride. And then 2024, how about most of you weren't part of you weren't part of my life, you weren't part of my world. I mean, most of you weren't here on New Year's Eve last year. I mean, we're coming up on almost 1,100 subscribers, and I don't know if I had 100 turning the new year last year. So I mean, almost 1,000 of you have come into this community, come to this channel this year in 2024. That's pretty amazing to me. I mean, you think back to that June trip, Potter Piper, one of my best friends in here. He came to Wyoming, I think we had 9 or 10 days together in Wyoming. So that's just another great memory for this year. And then as we came into late fall and that trip back home, the one that you guys, I try to bring with me on both sides of the trips now. The trip home in November 18th, I left Wyoming, picked up Ranger at Sean's house. The Ranger's been here with me now for 2 months, or coming up on it. It'll be 2 months when I give him back. How about my daughter? Lauren got evacuated out of Sarasota twice this fall for 2 of the hurricanes. Once was for a week and once was for 2 weeks. So she and Emery got to spend 3 weeks completely out of the blue together this fall. And my daughter had to make up those 3 weeks because the school didn't care that they closed. They gave up no performance criteria. She had to make everything due before she could come home for Christmas. Then I got Sean. So we're talking about Thanksgiving. Sean was here for a little over a week for Thanksgiving. And then both my kids and Ranger have been here for these holidays. And what a great couple months it's been since I got back from Wyoming. And you guys have been here along the way. Remember all the dog yard chats we had back in the fall and spring and summer, and all the fireside chats last late winter, early spring, and all the fireside chats we've had here in the last few weeks. I mean, what a great year this has been. That kind of brings me to tonight. Get another fireside chat with a bunch of my friends. I got Sean and Lauren and Natalie, my adopted daughter, who's not my adopted daughter. They're all going to be here. They've all got friends coming over. We're going to have a big old New Year's Eve dinner and drink a bunch of champagne and have fun with everybody tonight. And the piece I forgot that I should have mentioned was all the friends I've made out in Wyoming, because a lot of them, the friendship started this year. I met them last year, right? Throughout all of last year, I met them, but truly become friends, truly showed them that I was someone who's going to keep coming there and showing up and being consistent. And a lot of them watch these videos. Not too many comment, and very few of them subscribe, but I've started to understand that they actually watch these videos. So to all my guys out in Wyoming, what a great year it's been with you. And I can't wait to get back to you guys here in just over 2 weeks. And I guess it would be a completely incomplete review of the year if, as a pipe channel, we didn't talk about that crazy seller out there in the paddock. Because all that has come in this year as well. A lot of it, the collection started 2 years ago, and a lot of it happened last year when the HU looked like they were going to go out of business. That panic started, and all those imports I did from Germany, and then the 10 tens, pound here, 3 pounds. I've done several 5-pounders. Who knew I'd ever buy a 5-pound bag of anything? But you guys have seen the paddock tour. You've seen the cellar tour. You've seen the weapons tours on Freedom Friday. You've seen the preps. What a great year. That's a result of years of getting here. But I've got to say 2024 is a great year. 2025 is going to be a better year. I promise you that. I think that's it for my review of 2024. But it sounds pretty good. And each one of you could do this. If you went through your calendars or just sat down with a piece of paper and thought about January, thought about February, thought about spring, each one of you could do the exact same thing. You guys have great lives, and you've had so many good things. We all have bad things happen to us, and what I would beg you not to do is say, well, I had a lot of good things happen in 2024, but I had a few bad things, so the year sucked. I mean, we really focus on the good and try to forget about the bad a little bit. Try to get to the point where, hey, 2024 was actually a pretty good year. Had some bad things, but it was a good year. And can't wait for the new year. We make such a big deal about New Year's. You know what tomorrow is? Yeah, I know. Tomorrow's New Year's Day. Yeah, I know it's January 1st. Yep, I know it's a new year. I get all that. My point is, you know what tomorrow is? Tomorrow's Wednesday. Tomorrow's the start of another year that's going to be just like this year unless we've done something to change it. There's nothing magical about, it's no different than flipping from July to August in the calendar. We're just flipping to another month. Yeah, the year changes, but nothing else changes except the year unless we do something to make it different. So I can't wait for tomorrow, but it's going to be Wednesday. You know what the day after tomorrow is going to be? It's going to be Thursday. The Amazon truck or the UPS truck isn't going to show up tomorrow and deliver you a new life or a new life experience unless you've ordered it. So just be careful just sitting here and saying, can't wait, can't get ready to get rid of this year and start next year, because next year is going to be just like this year unless we did something, proactively did something, changed something to make 2025 different, to make 2025 better. All right, this next segment is going to be kind of woo-woo-y, but I'm going to share with you two beliefs that I carry inside me that I didn't for a long time. And both have done me well. So I want to share those two beliefs with you, but it's different kind of talk that I hear pretty much from anyone else in this community. So put on the weird warning. It's not a I don't think it's going to assault anybody, but it's going to be different kind of talk than I normally have on this channel. So I've come to believe that the world is largely a mirror. The world mirrors what we put into it. It mirrors it back. And that can be tough to get at times. And it can be, I don't know if it's an offensive meter item, but if the world is handing you shit, if everyone you meet is mean or angry or frustrated or being a jerk to you, if you can't catch a break, it's my belief that the world's reflecting what you're putting into it. And we're going to talk about energy in a minute, and the energy is really the woo-woo part. But if you keep projecting, if you keep receiving shit, it means you're probably projecting shit. It means you're projecting anger, frustration, lack of understanding, lack of compassion, whatever. It is my belief that what life is giving back to you or presenting to you is simply a reflection of what you're putting out into the world. And I can hear you guys, oh no, I project nothing but niceness and compassion, and the world just feeds me shit. And I'm going to cry bullshit on that. Really, if this sentence doesn't sit well with you, really evaluate what you're putting out into the world tomorrow morning. I got to go throw the stick. And sometimes life throws us that change, right? What happened? The world went south on me all of a sudden. This week was 10 times worse than last week, or this fall was worse than the summer was, or the holiday season was worse than the fall. I don't really understand what changed, what happened. And what I find when that happens, I have to evaluate what I've been projecting into the world. If I'm projecting nothing but frustration and anger and impatience, which I do sometimes, I think part of the way God whacks me on the head is he feeds it back to me, and I really, that's why I said I've really become a fan of the belief that we can see what we're projecting out into the world by what the world is handing back to us. And that can be really tough to accept. But I really ask you to think about that. So if you thought that was wooey, or you really hated that part of the video, you don't want to watch this part. This is going to get worse. I want to talk about the energy we put out, the energy we project, the energy we're full of. Some of the books I recommend are written by Wayne Dyer. he had a saying, he probably got it from somewhere else, but I heard it when he said it, and that was, when you squeeze an orange, what do you get? You get an orange, dumbass, right? I mean, you get orange juice. And why is that? Why do you get orange juice when you squeeze an orange? Well, that's, orange is full of orange juice, dummy. And the question, or where that goes next, is what happens, what do you put out when you get squeezed? What kind of juice, when life throws you a bad day or a bad relationship or a bad event or a bad, how do you react? What comes out of you? And for most people, it's anger and frustration and just pissed off and just negativity. And why is that? And the answer is because that's what you're full of. You're full of negativity. You're full of frustration. Can we clean that out and replace it with good energy, positive energy? You know, and you see me talk about this on my vids. I haven't talked about like this in a while, but I talk about, do you love life? Do you love your life? That's two different questions. And I've really come to love life. Other people's lives, dogs' lives, the people around me's lives, and I love my life. And I really try to project that in these videos, when I meet with people, when I try to help people in my daily life. It's hard in the grocery store. I get it. But what sort of energy are you full of inside? And what energy is your default? What is your default when you're out there in the world? And most people, unless you've retooled it, it's a very negative energy. And it can be retooled. It took me years to even understand this concept or even talk about it. Took me a long time because it's too woo-woo-y for me. But I promise you it works. You know, if we can change what we put out into the world and what we are filled with, it will change our lives. Because then the world begins to reflect the good things. And we have opportunities come to us. Results of our hard work come to us. People of higher caliber, people of higher energy come into our lives. So I think my last point tonight will be who we take advice from, who we learn from. And I sense in our community, in particular us older guys, somebody has to be fucking perfect before I'm willing to learn from them. And I got to tell you, that is a mistake. You know, I'm a big fan of Wayne Dyer and his teachings. And somebody wrote and said, well, he said something a Christian once, so I don't like him. And I just got to tell you, I think that's a really piss poor way to go through life. You know, I'll give you a good example. I don't particularly respect Tony Robbins as a person, but I spent a year with the man, and his teachings are pretty damn good. That just taught me somebody does not need to be perfect in their behavior for us to respect and learn from them. And I'll give you an example that might resonate with this crowd, and that's Trump. Trump is, to a large extent, to a lot of people, a piece of shit. You know, the way he talks, the way he tweets was so offensive, but that does not make him a bad leader or a bad businessman or a bad president. And so I think a lot of us are willing to ignore a lot of his personal behaviors and support him as president. And I would say that is a good analogy for how I would recommend you guys find life coaches or life teachings. Is don't look for perfection from the people you're reading from or going to their seminars or having one-on-ones with. You know, you're looking for great pieces of knowledge, great pieces of teaching, not perfect teachers. All right, guys, we've gone long enough. I've kept you long enough. Coming to the end of my wonderful cigar. That tells me we're at 30 minutes. So I've assembled all the pieces and we're in fact about 30 minutes in. So let's wrap this up and say Happy New Year to everybody. You know, and as we exit this year and start the new one, may God bless you. May God bless your life. May God bless those lives that are around you. May God turn his ear to your prayers. May God make his face shine upon you. And may he bless your life as he blessed mine in 2024, and as I'm sure he's getting ready to in 2025. All right, you guys, have a good night. Have a safe night. Hope you had a great New Year's Eve, and we'll probably talk tomorrow on New Year's Day. Good night, everybody.